This will sound very strange, but Joe Biden's speech, what some have called his speech from hell, in which he called for people to take action against what he said was the threat to democracy in America, Trump and Make America Great Again Republicans, is a most important prophecy from God that is communicating that the handwriting is on the wall for democracy and America, and that this speech paralleled Emperor Palpatine's speech in the movie Star Wars. And it is a prophecy that is predicting that famous actor James Earl Jones, the voice of the Lion King and the voice of Darth Vader, and who starred in the most iconic baseball movie ever made, Field of Dreams, in which he delivered an iconic speech in which he asserted that America could be great again, will die on September 23rd, and that a catastrophic solar storm coronal mass ejection from the sun will hit Earth that will cause catastrophic blackouts on September 24th, the day after James Earl Jones will die. The date that this video is posted proves that this prediction was made ahead of time, as does this timestamped email and forensic notes PDF. If you are skeptical, please email me and I will forward these to you. James Earl Jones was the voice of the lion. He was the voice of the Lion King. James Earl Jones will die one day before the occurrence of the event that is described in the Bible in the book of Revelation in chapter 8. Revelation 8:7 describes a catastrophic solar flare coronal mass ejection hit from the sun. The lion's roar symbolizes this, and this is what the death of the voice of the Lion King will symbolize. This is why James Earl Jones, the voice of the Lion King, will die one day before this catastrophic solar storm coronal mass ejection hit from the sun that will hit Earth and cause catastrophic power outages. This event is described in the Bible in Revelation chapter 8, along with 3 other trumpet judgments from God, and it is predicted that these 3 other trumpet judgments will also occur on September 24th, 2022. These include a catastrophic asteroid hit of Earth, the eruption of volcanoes, and a volcanic mountain that will crash into the sea and cause a catastrophic tsunami. It is predicted that James Earl Jones will die on September 23rd and the day after on September 24th, in addition to a catastrophic solar storm hit and a catastrophic asteroid hit of Earth. Yellowstone volcano will erupt and the volcanic island in the Canary Islands will crash into the sea and cause a catastrophic tsunami. Having said this, it is also possible that not all 4 of these trumpet judgment events will take place on September 24th, and instead it is possible that only one of these events will occur on September 24th, with the other 3 remaining trumpet judgment events taking place sometime within the next year. The post date that this video is posted proves that these predictions are being made ahead of time. As well, these time-stamped emails and forensic notes PDF files also document that these predictions are being made ahead of time. If you are skeptical for some reason, please email me and I will forward these to you. In the account of Noah's flood in the Bible, God gave Noah a 7 days warning to load the ark before the judgment destruction began. 7 days before the predicted events will occur on September 24th. A major flooding event occurred on the northwest coast of Alaska. Coastal towns experienced 10 feet of water above high tide sea level. Homes were lifted off their foundations and floated away, and there was destruction and evacuations. The governor declared a disaster. This flooding event was the result of the massive Hurricane Merbok. Merbok is a Malaysian word that refers to a type of spotted neck dove. In the flood account, Noah waited 7 days for a dove to return to the ark, and therefore this confirms the 7 days count from the flooding event on September 17th to the predicted events on September 24th. Additionally, this flooding occurred in the 49th state to join the Union, and in the Bible, the number 49 is prophetic because it is 7 times 7, including, for example, a passage that speaks of 7 times 7 days. The Antichrist will rise to power through replacing the 49th Vice President, Kamala Harris, after it is predicted that she will die in a plane crash on November 3rd, 2022. In the Bible, in the book of Daniel, chapter 8, the Antichrist is described as coming from the northwest, and this is perfectly symbolized in this flooding event that took place in the most northern and most western location of the United States. The Antichrist 44th president will rise to power after the eruption of Yellowstone volcano that is located on the 44th latitudinal line in the northwest corner of the 44th state to join the Union in the northwest United States. This predicted catastrophic solar storm that is described in Revelation chapter 8 will occur 7 days after the flooding event that was a 7 days warning, and this flooding event on September 17th was in turn exactly 800 days after the astronomy news came out regarding the biggest solar flare ever detected. This super flare was detected on a star that is located in the neck of Leo the Lion constellation, which is why the media called it the Lion's Roar. James Earl Jones, the voice of Mufasa, the king in the movie The Lion King, symbolizes this lion's roar. There is zero news of James Earl Jones's health as of the date that this video was posted. Furthermore, the reasoning that I am about to explain confirms that the supernatural is involved with these predictions. Also, I have known that the death of James Earl Jones would be a major prophetic sign from God since 2019. The famous actor James Earl Jones is King Symbolism. He was the voice of the Lion King, played a dying king in Coming to America. James Earl Jones read the audio King James Bible and was the voice of Darth Vader, which is Antichrist King Symbolism. In the Bible, Pharaoh, the king of Egypt, was a prophetic foreshadow of the Antichrist king. Memphis, Tennessee is named after the ancient Egyptian city of Memphis. In God's prophetic signs, Memphis, Tennessee is King Pharaoh of Egypt symbolism. James Earl Jones is King Symbolism, and he was born in Mississippi, right near Memphis, Tennessee. James Earl Jones was born right near where Elvis Presley was born. Elvis is the king of rock and roll. Elvis began his career in Memphis, Tennessee, with a record label named Sun Records, which hints at the upcoming Lion King roar from the sun and catastrophic solar flare coronal mass ejection hit from the sun. The king of rock and roll's famous Graceland estate, which is symbolism for a king's palace, is located in Memphis, Tennessee. Memphis is also known for being the location that Martin Luther King was shot and killed. King was shot on the date 4/4, April 4th, which hints at the Antichrist king, the 44th president. In Bible prophecy, the number 666 symbolizes the Antichrist king. King was shot exactly 6 + 6 + 6 years after the UN Trustee Council officially recommended that Jerusalem be made an international city of the world ruled by the United Nations, which will be the big transgression against God as described in Bible prophecy. The defeat of the Antichrist on the Temple Mount in Jerusalem at the return of Lord Jesus Christ is described in Isaiah chapter 31. Isaiah chapter 31 begins with, "Woe to those who go down to Egypt," which is why right after becoming president, the Antichrist king, Barack Obama, went down to Cairo, Egypt, in order to deliver his famous speech to the Muslim world about how America is no longer a Christian nation. At the time, the Egyptians and the media called Obama the new King Tut of the world, which was symbolism for the Antichrist king of the world. Obama, the 44th president, is from Chicago and was an Illinois state senator in Springfield, Illinois, and the cities of Springfield and Chicago is connected to the city of Memphis, Tennessee, with the I-55 highway. The I-55 briefly becomes one with the I-44 in St. Louis, Missouri. St. Louis is famous for its Gateway Arch and is nicknamed the Gateway to the West. In the Bible, God's judgment on a people symbolically begins at the gates. The I-55 and I-44 join together right exactly where the Gateway Arch is located. St. Louis was the biggest city in the U.S. that was within the path of totality of the Great American Eclipse, judgment warning, prophetic sign. The eclipse peaked right near St. Louis over a city named Cairo, Illinois, and in an area of the country nicknamed Little Egypt. The eclipse in 2024 will cross over the path of totality of the Great American Eclipse in 2017, and just like the 2017 eclipse, this 2024 eclipse will pass directly over Cairo, Illinois. The I-55 connects Cairo, Illinois to St. Louis, and it connects Cairo, Illinois to Memphis, Tennessee. The Great American Eclipse, judgment warning prophetic sign that peaked over Cairo, Illinois, occurred exactly 3,000 days after Barack Obama went down to Cairo, Egypt, to deliver his famous speech. In the Bible, it was, quote, about 3,000 souls, unquote, that perished in judgment from God after their rebellion at Mount Sinai, and it was, quote, about 3,000 souls, unquote, that came to saving faith after Peter's first sermon on the first day of the church age. The Antichrist will persecute God's people. The Great American Eclipse judgment warning prophetic sign that went over St. Louis was in turn exactly 600 plus 600 plus 600 days before the extremely prophetic, historic, and destructive flooding in St. Louis, which hints at the number 666, which is Antichrist symbolism, and hints at the age of Noah, which was 600 at the time of the flood judgment. The flooding in St. Louis required 70 rescues by firefighters, and this flooding was known for having caused the closure of a section of the I-70 highway. The I-70 highway runs parallel to the path of totality of the Great American Eclipse, and the path of totality of the eclipse was 70 miles wide. The flooding caused the section of the highway where the I-44 and I-55 joined together to become one right at the Gateway Arch. And during the flooding, the National Park Service officially announced the closure of the Gateway Arch, which was symbolism for the closure of God's relationship with America. In the account of Noah's flood, the flood waters increased for 40 days. The flooding at the Gateway to the West Arch occurred exactly 40 days after the Golden State Warriors won the NBA basketball championship. The Golden State Warriors wear uniforms that have the Golden Gate Bridge on it. The The Golden Gate Bridge is nicknamed the Gateway to America. The Gateway to America is 90 feet wide and 1.7 miles long, which hints at the president that was president from 2009 until 2017. Their team uniforms also have a lightning bolt on the side of their shirt. Obama is the basketball president, and lightning is Antichrist symbolism. Jesus said he saw Satan falling like lightning from heaven. And in Hebrew, Barak is the word for lightning. Bama is the word that means high place, which in the Bible is a metaphor for heaven, as it is written that Lucifer fell from the high place, a metaphor for heaven. And in Aramaic, the language Jesus would have spoken, the word for from is O. Hence, Barack Obama is lightning from heaven. The man God used in this Golden State Warriors NBA championship is Stephen Curry, and there was a prophetic sign in which Stephen Curry fell on the basketball court. He was wearing this uniform with a lightning bolt, and this was symbolism for Satan falling like lightning from heaven. The I-55 that connects the home city of the Antichrist King, Chicago, to Memphis, Tennessee, the home of the King of Rock and Roll's Graceland Estate, which is symbolism for a king's palace, is symbolism for the prophet Daniel in the Bible, chapter 5, verse 5, which is the verse that describes the king in his palace and the mysterious hand that writes a message on the wall. In English today, the handwriting is on the wall is an idiom that means that it is clear that something bad will probably happen soon. The prophet Daniel interpreted the message from God for the king and said that the king was being judged by God for not honoring God. The king died that same night that King Cyrus from Persia captured the city of Babylon. In the Bible, Babylon is symbolism for the Antichrist king. As described in the 45th chapter, King Cyrus was used by God to liberate the Jews and restore Israel. Likewise, God also used the 45th president in a manner that symbolically paralleled King Cyrus, who is described in Isaiah chapter 45. James Earl Jones is king symbolism. James Earl Jones will die on September 23rd, exactly 550 days, which hints at the number 55, after the day of the King Supermarket shooting in Boulder, Colorado. The name Boulder, Colorado is symbolism for rock, which in the Bible is symbolism for Jesus, the King of Kings. The date of this shooting occurred on the Hebrew calendar date Nisan 10, which is the official date that the King of the Jews officially arrived into Jerusalem while riding a donkey, thus fulfilling prophecy in the Bible. In this shooting, there were 10 deaths. There were 10 deaths on this Nisan 10 date in the King Supermarket shooting. As well, these 10 deaths are broken down into 9 civilians and 1 police officer, which gives us 9 and 10, which in the Bible is symbolism for judgment on a nation. Jesus judged the nation of Israel after he healed 10 lepers. 9 of them were Jews and didn't thank him or praise God, but the 1 foreigner thanked Jesus and praised God. From the Bible, the number 9 symbolizes God's judgment and is the most important number in God's true big picture of signs, patterns, and connections, which is only being explained on this channel. And from the Bible, the number 10 symbolizes God's perfection. Hence why this 9 and 10 in the 10 deaths is symbolism for judgment on the nation. And this is why James Earl Jones will die exactly 550 days after these 10 deaths on Nisan 10 in Boulder, Colorado. God uses 36 months connections as they symbolize the number 666, which is Antichrist symbolism. 36 is 6 times 6, and also 2 times 18, which is 6 plus 6 plus 6. And the 36th triangular number, which in a triangle of numbers, the last number in the 36th row is 666. And 1 plus 2 plus 3 plus 4 all the way up to 36 equals 666. The date September 1st, 2022 was predicted ahead of time to be a date of a prophetic event because it was exactly 36 months after the prophetic sign that was the flash flood that killed 7 people in Hell's Gate Canyon National Park in the southwest region of Kenya that Barack Obama was born. Joe Biden's speech from hell was exactly 36 months after this flash flood in Hell's Gate Canyon National Park. Hell's Gate Canyon is the location that inspired the movie The Lion King. James Earl Jones was the voice of the Lion King, and he starred in the most iconic baseball movie ever made, Field of Dreams. When Barack Obama first presented his birth certificate forgery at the White House press correspondents' dinner, he cloaked the biggest lie in history in comedy when he played a clip of The Lion King and joked that it was the scene of his birth, which in fact was prophetic because the truth is Barack Obama was born right near the location, Hell's Gate Canyon, that inspired the movie The Lion King. September 1st, 2019 was also the day of the Washington Nationals' Simba Cam prophetic sign, which was a Lion King movie prophetic sign that will be explained later. However, it was also a baseball prophetic sign. In the Bible, 30 years is symbolism for a king. David and Joseph were made kings at 30 years old. This baseball Simba Cam sign, which was a king sign, a Lion King sign, on the day of the flash flood sign in Hell's Gate Canyon, occurred exactly 30 years after the 7th Commissioner of Baseball died. The 7th Commissioner of Baseball died exactly 5 months after he became the 7th Commissioner of Baseball. He died while in office. And in the account of Noah's flood, the flood judgment lasted for exactly 5 months. And James Earl Jones's character, the Lion King, died in a stampede of wildebeests, which is symbolism for a flood. James Earl Jones was born exactly 7 years and 77 days before the birth of the 7th Commissioner of Baseball. James Earl Jones read the 7th Commissioner of Baseball's poem, which is about how baseball is a homecoming, which was symbolism for the second coming of Lord Jesus Christ, right at the beginning of the broadcast of Game 3 of the 1989 World Series. 4 minutes later, the extremely prophetic 1989 World Series earthquake judgment warning sign occurred live on television. As explained in other videos, God is using all of this to point to the first commissioner of baseball that was given during a time of crisis complete unchecked power over every person in baseball. The first commissioner of baseball is Antichrist symbolism. James Earl Jones starred in the most iconic baseball movie ever made, in which he delivered a speech about how America could be great again. This movie was about the 1919 White Sox and the Black Sox World Series scandal, which was the crisis that brought the first commissioner of baseball to power. In God's signs, pitchers on the pitching mound symbolize the Antichrist on the Temple Mount. The Chicago White Sox suffered a supposed sports curse and didn't win a World Series until 2005, and Barack Obama, who is from Chicago, after having become a U.S. Senator, threw out the first pitch of a prophetic baseball game that communicated that the defeat of the Antichrist on the Temple Mount at the second coming of Lord Jesus Christ would be exactly 19 years after this game, on the Day of Atonement on October 12, 2024, which is the reason for the 1919 Black Sox World Series scandal, and this game in which Obama threw out the first pitch was exactly 190, which hints at the number 19, months before the prophetic Field of Dreams baseball game was played in the same cornfield in Iowa in which James Earl Jones delivered his "America Could Be Great Again" speech. God uses many, many baseball prophetic signs because, as James Earl Jones said in the movie Field of Dreams, American history is intertwined with baseball. James Earl Jones's "America Could Be Great Again" speech in the movie Field of Dreams is symbolism for the Make America Great Again slogan. The slogan, Make America Great Again, is symbolism for God's warning to America that it return to God or else judgment destruction. In archaic English, the word Trump means trumpet or the sounding of a trumpet. President Trump and Trumpers, MAGA Republicans, symbolize the Hebrews that blew trumpets outside of the walls of security of the ancient city of Jericho before the walls collapsed in judgment from God. Joe Biden's speech was about vilifying the MAGA Republicans as the threat to democracy and America. In the background was a brick wall, the brick wall of Independence Hall in Philadelphia, the birthplace of democracy. Biden's speech in front of this wall was a parallel with the book of Joshua and the walls of Jericho that collapsed in God's judgment, and Biden's speech was symbolism for America's walls of security collapsing in God's judgment. In the backdrop behind Biden was a lampstand that was shining its light on the white gloves of one of the two Marines standing guard. The Marine's hands were folded, showing one of his hands to the audience. The white glove of his hand stood out against the dark backdrop of the wall behind the Marine. In the book of Daniel, chapter 5, verse 5, it is a lampstand that lights up the hand that is writing on the wall. Biden's speech was a handwriting on the wall Antichrist speech that God used to communicate that the handwriting is on the wall for democracy in America. It was a handwriting on the wall sign that communicated the coming persecution of God's people from the Antichrist. This hinted at Daniel chapter 5, verse 5, and this is why this speech occurred exactly 5 + 5 + 5 months after the Elvis sign that was stolen from the wall. On the front entrance to Elvis's birthplace museum in Tupelo, Mississippi, the sign that was Elvis's signature was stolen. Elvis's signature was his handwriting. It was a literal handwriting on the wall prophetic sign. And again, Elvis's Graceland estate, which is symbolism for a king's palace in Memphis, Tennessee, which is Antichrist king symbolism, is connected to Chicago, the home of the Antichrist, with the I-55 highway. The king of rock and roll, Elvis, was born right near where the voice of the Lion King, James Earl Jones, was born. On the same day of the news of the Elvis sign that was stolen from the brick wall was the day of the national news story about a 3-year-old girl's wish for a Lion King death cake. She wanted a cake that depicted the death of Mufasa, so that other people would be sad and wouldn't want to eat the cake, and she could have it all to herself. Biden's speech that vilified people that want to make America great again which was a handwriting on the wall sign that pointed to Daniel chapter 5, verse 5, occurred exactly 55 weeks after the prophetic Field of Dreams baseball game was played in the same cornfield in Iowa that James Earl Jones delivered his "America Could Be Great Again" speech. In God's true big picture of signs, patterns, and connections, which is only being explained on this channel, the most important number is the number 9, as from the Bible it symbolizes God's judgment. God uses the number 90 to symbolize the number 9, and God uses 90 weeks connections for this purpose. Joe Biden was born exactly 90 weeks before the famous British actor Ian McDermott was born. Joe Biden was born in 1942, and McDermott was born in 1944. In Bible prophecy, the number 42 is symbolism for the Antichrist, and the Antichrist is the 44th president. McDermott played Emperor Palpatine in the Star Wars movies. At the climax of the end of the prequel trilogy in the movie Revenge of the Sith, a movie that is about the rise of Darth Vader, which is Antichrist symbolism, Emperor Palpatine delivers his famous speech about the threat the Republic faces from within, a threat that requires that he take temporary, unchecked power in order to resolve the crisis and threat to democracy. This exact 90 weeks connection between the birth of Joe Biden and Ian McDermott is designed by God to confirm the parallel between Joe Biden's speech from hell and Emperor Palpatine's speech. Biden and his team appropriately named the speech Soul of the Nation. There is a spiritual war going on for the soul of the nation and the souls within the nation. James Earl Jones will die one day before the crisis to the Republic that will begin with the events described in Revelation chapter 8 and will be the pretext for the Antichrist taking unchecked power. In other words, the handwriting is on the wall for America. God's judgment destruction of America will now commence.
I love democracy.
The most extraordinary experiment of self-government the world has ever known.
I love democracy.
These two documents and the ideas they embody, equality and democracy, are the rock upon which this nation is built.
I love the Republic.
They're how we became the greatest nation on earth.
The Republic is not what it once was.
Equality and democracy are under assault. We do ourselves no favor to pretend otherwise.
The Republic is not what it once was. A strong Chancellor.
So tonight, I've come to this place where it all began to speak as plainly as I can to the nation about the threats we face.
And the Jedi Rebellion has been foiled.
What's happened?
The Chancellor's been elaborating on a plot by the Jedi.
About the power we have in our own hands to meet these threats.
But I assure you, my resolve has never been stronger.
A strong Chancellor.
A mission I believe in with my whole soul.
It is with great reluctance that I have agreed to this calling.
We must be honest with each other and with ourselves. Too much of what's happening in our country today is not normal.
The Republic is not what it once was.
Donald Trump and the MAGA Republicans represent an extremism that threatens the very foundations of our republic. And that is a threat to this country.
And the Jedi Rebellion has been foiled.
What's happened?
The Chancellor's been elaborating on a plot by the Jedi.
But I'm an American president. My duty to level with you, to tell the truth, no matter how difficult. no matter how painful.
It is with great reluctance that I have agreed to this calling. The power you give me, I will lay down when this crisis has abated.
Trump and the extreme MAGA Republicans quote a clear and present danger to our democracy. But while the threat to American democracy is real, I want to say as clearly as we can, we are not powerless in the face of these threats. We are not bystanders in this ongoing attack on democracy. It is within our power, it's in our hands, yours and mine, to stop the assault on American democracy.
And the remaining Jedi will be hunted down and defeated. In order to ensure the security and continuing stability, the Republic will be reorganized into the first galactic empire for a safe and secure society.
The Republic is not what it once was. The Republic is not what it once was. The Republic is not what it once was.
In order to ensure the security and continuing stability, the Republic will be reorganized into the first galactic empire for a safe and secure society.
So this is how liberty dies. With thunderous applause.
It is within our power, it's in our hands, yours and mine.
This is the end of part 1 of this 2-part introductory video. Make sure you watch this part 2 of this video. I will leave a link to this part 2 in the description box below this video. Please leave a like and a comment to this video.